Finding Home by Jessica Sims. Narrated by Benjamin Fife. Chapter 1. The Deed. A leaf descended from the top branch and floated softly to the ground, which marked the beginning of fall. Tomorrow and the day after, as the weather brought a chill to the air, the trees would soon become bare, and the rain would come too. John Oscar Chambless, 16, barefoot and dressed in ragged blue jeans and a dingy oversized white shirt with holes, sat beneath a giant tree and watched each leaf skate on air until they landed. Each time a leaf fell, he lifted his toes. This tree brought comfort and provided a safety net for him. One thing he was bent on was not ever being caught by those dirty white boys who would run him down like a pack of scent hounds, leading hunters on a chase to kill their game. If he had to die, John was not going out without a fight. John's personality was like that of a honey badger, ferocious for his small size. Even if it meant he had to do the unthinkable, the unimaginable, the unheard of. One night, late in September, John smelled the scent of those white men who violently held him to the ground and beat him. Young John, barefoot, hadn't done anything different that evening as he walked along the dirt road headed for home, when an old rusted red pickup truck pulled up beside him. The brakes squealed as the truck came to a stop. The white driver's yellow-stained teeth told his story of neglect as he rolled down the window. "What you doing out here, boy?" His words slurred drunkenly. "You know it ain't safe for your kind to be caught walking by yourself at night." John's stomach knotted and felt like a brick as if it hit the ground. He kept his head down, his mahogany brown eyes to the ground, as he continued to walk because he knew either way he was in trouble. The second passenger, who sat in the middle of the seat bench, leaned closer to the window. "Hey, boy, you hear us talking to you?" He chugged a bottle of whiskey and belched. John tilted his nose in the air as the smell of the whiskey pouring from the truck polluted the air. "Just what I need, drunken white boys." He continued his path, hoping they would leave him alone. As he lengthened his stride, an empty whiskey bottle hit John in the face. He knew that the stuff running down was not sweat because it was warm and felt different. John ignored the assault and increased his pace. Two of the white boys leaped out of the truck and bolted toward John. John glanced over his shoulder as fear swept through his veins. "Look, I don't want no trouble." His heart thrummed against his bony ribcage. The driver flashed a sinister grin. "You just found some. A whole lot of it." John dashed toward the woods as the two who were once passengers chased after him. The driver slammed the gas pedal as road rocks sprayed the area, kicking up dust. "I'm coming for you, boy!" He spat out the truck window. When he got beside John, he lobbed another whiskey bottle at him, but missed, as John sprinted into the woods. The other two pursued him as if John was their last meal's entertainment. The driver hopped out of the truck and dashed towards the three to catch them. "Get back here, boy! You can't escape. You never can." John jumped over logs, twigs, and rocks, making his escape, but his energy drained and the two boys caught John. The larger boy chunked his whiskey bottle at John's head, slowing him down a bit. The larger boy gained the distance needed to trap John and tightly wrapped his arm around his victim's neck, choking him as he glared at his friend who drove the truck. "Go back to the truck. Keep a watch out. We don't need no trouble." As the larger boy grappled John, the other slammed his fist into his stomach. John broke free and wildly punched at his assailants, connecting his fist into his captor's cheekbone. To John, everything seemed to be in slow motion as the attack continued. For every punch the boys landed, John punched back with the power of a death-stalker scorpion, the worst of any scorpion on Earth, having the impact as if being trampled by an elephant. The boys finally controlled John, holding him to the ground. His breath fast and beads of sweat covered his brow and upper lip. Smack! The boys delivered punch after punch which landed on John's face. Thump! Another into his stomach. Splat! Several into his torso and legs. Thud! He fought with all his strength and for a quick second broke one arm free from the boy's grasp. Out of the corner of his eye, the whiskey bottle barely glimmered in the moonlight. There is a God. He snatched the glass bottle, struck it on a rock, breaking the pour spout, and then slashed one of the boy's throat. He raised the bottle toward the remaining assailant and kicked him off. The boy landed 2 feet away on a rock. He quickly rose and bolted toward the road. Outraged, John's hand fisted until his knuckles turned white. I can't let them get gone. They'll kill me for sure. He grabbed the only weapon near to him, the broken whiskey bottle, and chased after them with the speed of a black panther. The boy tripped over a rock, stumbling to the ground. Crack! The snap of his leg bone seemed to echo throughout the woods as he landed in a prone position. Damn! I broke my leg! I'm gonna kill you, boy! He attempted to rise, but couldn't. John, seething, stood glaring over him. You better think twice before ever laying a hand on me. John lifted the broken whiskey bottle. The white boy's eyes darted quickly in fear. You can't kill me. You don't have the nerve. Smack! John struck the bottle across the boy's temple. Blood splattered onto his face and torn shirt. The crimson fluid oozed from the head wound. Now who don't have no nerve? The boy gasped and took his last breath, giving John the last word. John gawked out of breath for about a minute at the dead bodies. Then he escaped the scene of the crime. John didn't know where his legs and feet were taking him. He blindly kept running as tears streamed down his face, clearing a path through the dirt and smudge. It felt like forever when he reached a river. He examined the area for the best way across. He sludged through a portion, over a log, a rock, and managed to reach the other side. With not a second to lose, he increased his pace. It wasn't long. In the distance, the roar of a freight train drew closer to John's position. The train's whistle blew at a crossing, and it was as if his mother, Fanny, called to him. Get on that train, baby. Go start a life and never come back. John's childhood memories flashed before him as he sprinted closer toward the train track. I'm a-going, Mama. It felt like he would never reach the track. Conflicted, he questioned his actions. Should I turn around? No, run. They'll kill me. I deserve to die. I just killed 2 white boys. No, run. Do what Mama said. Don't stop, baby. Keep running. Get far away as you can. Run. God must have been with John, because when he reached a clearing, the train yard was 20 feet ahead. A train slowly pulled away. He dodged for the train, although it was extremely painful because his feet were swollen and cut from running barefoot. As he got close to the open train, 2 white hands reached out to grab him. He turned around, but his father, Jonathan, seemed to speak to him from the beyond. It's okay, son. Go on. John grabbed the hands, which pulled him inside the train's car. With his hands on his knees, he gazed upward at 3 white boys. He thought his heart raced before. Now it seemed as if it were on the outside of his chest. The blood in his veins pulsated. The first white boy grinned. Where are you going? Where you come from? The second white boy pointed towards the woods. He got a name? The third white boy lifted his thick brows inquisitively. John, still shocked and frightened by the assault, and him killing the 2 white boys, trembled. His stomach growled. In just a ways up, there's a jungle or a camp for hobos. You can get off there. I'm going to stay put and get me some distance. Boy, you got trouble following you? Don't matter if you do. We all got trouble behind us. The second boy grinned. I need to get as far away as I can. Trouble isn't the word for what I've done. Chapter 2. The Camp. A couple of hours later, the train stopped in Manchester, Georgia, and John leaped off. Ahead was a large tree which provided shade. He sat beneath it as a gust of wind rustled the leaves. He shivered and wrapped his arms over his chest and turned his front toward the trees in hope it would block the chilly breeze. His stomach growled as his brow scowled. I'm in a whole lot of deep trouble. How long will it take for those white men to catch me and find out my name? Will they kill my family? Mama, what do I do? Don't you worry about us, baby. You are a man. It's time for you to fend for yourself. His mother's voice in his head seemed to calm him. John looked over his shoulder, hoping to see his mother, but instead he visualized his father, who stood next to him. Son, a real man takes care of himself, and you need to, no matter what. Yes, Papa. I'll never go back, but if I do, I'll show you and Mama a different man. You'll see what I'll do out on my own. I'll make you proud. Suddenly, a jungle buzzard, a dark-skinned resident who lived at the camp, eased up to John. Hello, I'm Irene. What's your name, boy? Her 60-year-old body had seen better days. She moved closer and studied him. What have you done that's got you all shaken up and scared? You look like you killed a white man or something. John gazed at Irene with his big, brown, bloodshot eyes and gulped. You can't hide the blood of a white man. By the looks of you, you've been in a nasty fight. His eyes widened as his heart pounded. She smirked. I don't want to know nothing at all. Whatever it is better not told. Relieved, John smiled. Thank you. You'd best be forgetting about it, too. What do they call you in these parts? John. Okay, John it is. Now take off your clothes and let them dry by the fire. I have nothing underneath but my drawers. Once you seen one pair, you be seeing them all. Take off your clothes and go sit by the fire and warm your skinny self up. John sighed as he began to undress. Maybe I can stop running now. For the first time, it seemed like the swarm of bumblebees stinging his head stopped circling. Terrified, his heart still raced, but he swore he heard his mother's soft voice. Now, my sweet son, go do what you have to do in this life to take care of yourself. I may never see you again, but know that I will always be with you in spirit. Remember to put God first, son. He lifted his eyes toward the heavens as he sighed. No matter what lies ahead, son, always put God first. He will work it out. There will be crying times as well as trying times, but as long as you put Him first, you will be all right. John felt a warmness from Irene, which reminded him of his mother. Her uncanny resemblance, short, dark-skinned, with long black hair like silk, softened his heart toward the jungle buzzard. The calmness of Irene's voice made John finally realize that it had been 2 whole days, and he hadn't eaten anything. As if on cue, John's stomach growled. The world around him blurred for a moment. Irene took notice right away. You best be getting into bed. Go ahead. Take a nap in my tent while your clothes dry. Now undress. John entered the tent, and one at a time he handed an article of clothing through the tent opening to his new friend. Irene walked south toward the stream. Most of the hobos who took walks or scrounged for scraps meandered back into the camp. Irene, holding John's clean and dried clothes, quickly strode toward her tent. She stood by the opening. John, your clothes be dry. Get dressed. She tossed the clothes through the opening. Thank you, Miss Irene, drifted from inside the tent. John dressed, exited, and studied the camp. A smile crossed his lips as he observed several hobos gambling, and his eyes lit up like the stars in the sky, because one thing John Chambless knew was how to gamble. Irene snickered. "You a gambling man?" "Me and my brothers are known for breaking any house game." "You don't say." "People would leave the game if one of us Chambless boys showed up, and heaven forbid more than one of us show up. That was all she wrote." "Then get yourself into that game. Those fools know how to lose money they don't got." "One problem. I don't have a single penny to my name." He looked down at his bare feet. "I can't even put my shoes in 'cause I ain't got none. Don't you worry yourself about me. I always figure something out." The sweet aroma of apple pies drifted his way. "That smells exactly like the ones my mother would bake on Saturday evenings." He sniffed the air and savored the smell. "Well, that is, except those she made from peaches I stole from the white boy's farm. Sounds like she liked to bake." "Bake doesn't do her pies justice. Every Sunday she took 2 apple pies and 7 peach pies to church to share with the others. She always hid 2 others for us to eat after dinner." His stomach rumbled and growled. "Sounds like you could use a piece. Go ahead, find out where they be. They won't fill your tummy from over here." John's bare feet moved as though they had a mind of their own as he walked toward the sweet aroma and stopped at the back door of a cafe. John huffed when he noticed a delivery truck filled with pies. "That's where you're coming from." "Hey, boy, what are you doing back there?" The owner, covered in flour over his apron and hat, headed his way. John's first instinct was to run, but his energy failed him. "Nothing, sir. Just admiring the smell. They smell like my mother's." "You look hungry. I'll make you a deal. You load this truck and I'll give you something to eat." As hunger pains shot through his stomach and his taste buds churned, John spent the next 3 hours loading the pies. From the back door, the owner checked on his progress. When John loaded the last batch, the owner waved him to the door. "Good job." He pointed to a milk crate. "Now sit right there, and I'll send some food your way." As the door slammed shut, John sat. He twiddled his thumbs and hummed an unfamiliar tune. Soon a waitress carrying a tray exited and sat it down at his feet. "These are for your work." "That's mighty kind of you, miss. Looks good. Love me some chicken and dumplings, corn on the cob, sweet peas, and a cold glass of sweet tea. Eat it before it gets cold." She entered the back door. It slammed behind her. John gobbled his food without haste. He wasn't sure if it was because the food was that delicious, or he was that hungry. The back door swung open. "This one for the road." The owner handed John an apple pie. "This is what brought you here. You should leave with it." "Thank you, sir. I won't let a bite go wasted from this mighty fine pie."